Hey, how's it going, everybody? Appreciate you for tuning in. We are back with another edition of Passionate Precision with myself and Jori. And we got a lot to talk about tonight, of course. But before we even get into any of that, Jori, how are you doing tonight?
I am all right. I'm excited to talk. My allergies acting up a little bit, but I am okay.
Okay. I mean, look, it's a thing that some people go through those allergies. I know how they can be a nuisance, but we'll
Twice a
definitely
year.
get. Hey, what's going on, Key? Got Key in here already. What's up? So, we're going to talk some NBA. We're going to talk about a star player in the Midwest in a little city called Milwaukee who's had an interesting start to the season. We're going to discuss kind of that and whether or not he and Milwaukee kind of need a separation. Uh, there's been talk about the NBA ratings. We'll get into that, kind of give you our thoughts on that, and maybe some ways that the league can fix it. Then we're going to get into NFL. You guys already know that Jory and I are big NFL fans, so we're going to talk about, we're going to give our picks. Jory's got her updated jacked up tiers, which, I mean, last time we did them, I felt like it was a good conversation starter. And I think when you see her updated one, you guys will definitely have a lot to say about that as well. And we're going to talk about locker rooms. I don't know what it's been about 2024, but a lot of these locker rooms around the NFL have been a bit of a mess. So we're going to get into that as well. Trajan, what's going on? Trajan letting us know that Wisconsin's not getting smoked.
My
Six to
team
three.
won
Go
52 to
sit out.
7 today. I can't complain.
Yeah, mine's lost, so whatever. And my quarterback left the team, so whatever. It's BC
What?
football. Yeah, Castellanos left the team because he lost his starting job or whatever.
Well, he lost
Uh,
his starting job because he was playing like trash.
Look, it's the day and age of the transfer portal, so yeah. And we got Key talking about Giannis. Trey just let you know that Mercer doesn't even have a football team. Hey,
They put something on the field and we killed that, so I'm going to give
I
him credit
mean,
where credit is due.
yeah, beat who's in front of you. That doesn't count as a win. Well, to the committee, though, yeah. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get into our first topic. So, Trajan, I'm sure you'll have something to say about this as well. Should Giannis want out of Milwaukee? It was like before the season, there was that report about, oh, if he leaves, these are the destinations. Then we've seen his frustration early in the season as they have struggled. Seems like they're playing a little bit better now, but I feel like this is going to be a story that sticks all the way to the trade deadline because we'll hear some report about some team, you know, being aggressive with Milwaukee, trying to get him out of there. So, with everything going on, looking at the roster, the coaches, and everything, should Giannis want out of Milwaukee?
No, he needs to stay there and eat crow. This you, people for Giannis forgets that he is his behavior and his words and all of his shenanigans as of lately, from him showing his whole rear end, is attributed to this. You asked for this. Don't sit here and try to drop trades and da 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 da. He made this mess. They did all of this for you. They traded away Drew Holiday for you. They're stuck with an old injury riddled Chris Middleton because of you. They went and got Damian Lillard because you were crying and dropping things about superstars or you're gonna leave. Shut the hell up. I mean, good lord. Giannis is becoming a little unlikable with all these trade droppings. He does the dropping of the trade thing. Don't nobody mention anything about a trade to him. He is just the one saying it. Like, ugh.
I mean, Giannis is. So I think, like, deep down, Giannis is a clown. And I think some of this is him messing with the media. Problem is, the media is going to run with this. And every time they have, a 2-game, 3-game losing streak, they're going to revisit this and ask, should Milwaukee trade him? Should Giannis want out and all this? I agree with you. I think for Giannis, I think for the league, he should stay in Milwaukee. Adam Silver has been trying to do things the past couple of years to make it so that stars want to stay where they are. Maybe if the Bucks hadn't won that title a couple of years ago, I might begin to think about Giannis wanting out, but he got his title there. He's the you could arguably say the biggest star in that state, or at least between Green Bay and you know where do the Bucks play? Milwaukee. For some reason I got messed up with it. If they actually played in Milwaukee, but I think what the team needs to do though is they need to retool around Giannis because he's now become like the most athletic, the he has like the most energy every night. And the more he has to drag these older players, like he said, I think the frustration will stay there.
So they need
So,
to stop listening to him.
I mean, look, that's what a lot of these smaller markets do. Trey just says Giannis can't want out. He made this mess. Kind of going along with what you said. Like that's what it's kind of been. But we saw this with LeBron when he was in Cleveland. Cleveland did everything to try to keep him, and then he left, and then Cleveland was a mess. That's the worry if you're the Bucks front office. If you do everything to make him happy, and he leaves, then what are you? Like, could you imagine this team? Let's say Giannis bounces and it's Dame Lillard with all these old pieces. That team's not winning anything.
That's a
And
lottery team.
yeah, and then at that point, if you're Lillard, it'd be like playing in Portland all those years. So I think the team, you know, should understand Giannis probably doesn't want to leave. Like Trey just said, I don't think Giannis ever wanted out. But they also can't get complacent and think that Giannis is just going to stick with Milwaukee no matter what they do around him. I think this trade deadline, they got to do something. I don't know what that is, but they have to do something to bring in more athleticism.
Go
Because
get
the Brooke
Bronny.
Lopez, Bobby Portis, like all these. So he loses his brother for LeBron's son. I'm sure he would. Yeah, I'm sure he would love that. But look, I mean, they are playing a little bit better now. So, you know, maybe this talk will go away. But we'll see.
He
We know
started
Giannis.
this. He needs to be
Yes,
quiet.
but I like it's almost like Jimmy Butler before the season when he shows up with the hairdo just so that's the picture that's on like everything during the season. Like that's his way of messing with the media. I feel like Giannis has like some dry, like clownish humor to him that he does
Him and
these things. Not
Joel aggravate
yeah,
are just
yeah,
aggravating. I'm
yeah,
like, you don't get to troll, sir. Mr. I can't get out of the second round of the playoffs.
yeah.
Or we always
I mean,
know
that
what
might
the
be it.
bottom of your feet look like. You don't get to troll.
I mean, Key did say a little earlier. They can have Joel. I'll take him. I'm sure you would, Key. I'm sure every Sixers fan would sign up for that deal in a heartbeat. But I think you're stuck with Joel just as the same way I feel like Giannis is going to be a buck. John does have a quick question. What's Dallas's issue? Talking about the Mavericks, of course, who have lost, I believe, 4 in a row. Seem to play down to their opponents, cannot finish a game to save their life. Would you like to
What
tackle
was
this
your
one
issue the
first?
last time we saw Dallas? Defense and their inability to close out a game. What's getting them in the butt this time? Defense and inability to close out the game. Klay Thompson was not going to be a magic band-aid on a defense because he don't play defense like that no more. Um, that's
Yeah,
their issue,
yeah. I mean, look with
and they
Clay,
go cold.
you have to take the good nights with the bad ones. I think what people believe is like because they have Luca and Kyrie, closing games shouldn't be an issue. Well, it is an issue only because you saw the Utah game. Luca is on his own planet defensively. I still don't know if he was playing zone, if he was playing man and just didn't know who his man was, but he was literally just standing there in the paint with his back to the ball to begin with. So I don't know how you're supposed to know when a pass is coming. And John Collins gets the easiest dunk that he'll get. It's like stuff like that is what's killing Dallas. I think Kyrie, I know there's like sections of NBA fans who like absolutely love Kyrie and kind of overrate him. I do think with this Dallas team, at least early in the season, maybe it's a bit of a front runner type mentality with them. Maybe they're still trying to gel with Clay. I don't know, but I think a lot about that Clay move to Dallas was overhyped because, like you said, we've seen Clay the past couple of seasons. He's not going to become like just because he left Golden State, he may have a grudge and want to show them up, but he didn't get four
That might
years
be the
younger.
hardest you get Klay Thompson to play versus Golden State.
Yeah, he's not 4 years younger. That body is still what it is. Some nights he'll flash and look really good. If you're a Mavericks fan, there's going to be some nights where you're going to be pulling at your hair and be like, why do we get this guy? That's just what Klay Thompson is right now. I would you panic if you were a Mavs fan? Because I
Early in
mean,
the
last season
season.
they made the finals. The expectations are for them to make another deep run in the playoffs. I know it's early in the season, but would you panic based off of this start and some of the troubling tendencies that
I'd
they
be
have?
concerned because I thought
Okay,
we addressed this in the offseason with some of the other moves that we made. If I'm a Mavericks fan,
yeah,
I'd be concerned. I'm not on full blown panic mode. Let us
okay.
get to January and we still have these issues.
Right. I
We
think in
about
the
there
NBA,
now.
that's yeah. I think with the NBA, you kind of take stock of your team when you get to Christmas. Christmas Day with like the 5 games. I think that's when everybody's like, okay, NBA season, let's pay attention. So let's see where Dallas is by then. But good question by John. 'Cause I think that's a question that a lot of NBA fans are wondering. Why does Dallas look so
Well,
bad right now?
when Luca's version of defense is a half of a basketball slide standing in motion,
In a
I
hip check,
mean,
yeah.
and a hip check, I don't know what kind of game you think you're closing out with that. And Kyrie, he tries. That's all I'm gonna give him.
I think people would be okay if Luca did that. Like Kyrie will chase a guy around the screen. He'll stay in front for a little bit. Then he might reach and lose the leverage. But I mean, Luca, you're
He
lucky if you
tries.
get that. Yeah,
Luca just stand there and look dumb. I'm like, come on now.
yeah. I don't know because I saw some people talking about uh, like top 5 players in the league, and Luca's always put up there like 2 or 3 or something, and the
You
defense
can't
is
be
hard
top
for me
three
to
and
look.
your defense is horrible like
Yeah,
that. No.
it's hard for me to look past it. I know a lot of people want Luca to get that MVP. That defense is something that can keep him away from that award. Offensively, he's great. We know that. You got to try. At least show you care on defense.
All right. My chihuahua should not be able to blow by him, and she can.
Right. I mean, look, sticking with the NBA, kind of along the same lines of this. Ratings. Everybody's talking about the ratings in the NBA, how they're declining. A lot of people have been given their reasons for why the product is, not as good as it was, whatever. But for you, what would you do if you were Adam Silver to course correct and get the ratings back up? What change would you make, or what?
Something to do with the damn defense going around or the lack of defense. Because the biggest issue with the NBA is that there's no defense being played. Like, one second.
John,
Nobody
I'm taking the
tries to.
over on that.
Yeah,
John said
like,
over
yeah,
on Draymond 15 flagrants. Yeah,
he's
over.
already gotten ejected like twice, and we're only like a month and a half into
Yeah.
the season. He get on my nerve, but like nobody tries to stop anything from scoring anything anymore. And you know what? Meaningless scoring is boring. Stop something. Do a turnover. Get on the ground. Wrestle for something. Try. Like I get so I just watching people run up and down the court and trading buckets. It gets boring after a while. Do something about that. And then the second issue, which I think why ratings plummeted, was that trash All-Star game.
Adam Silver has a suggestion for that. Now, well, I
That
guess
was atrocious.
I'll circle back to that. I'll let you kind of finish. So, defense, you said, is an issue. What would you do to kind of fix defense? Is it just a rule change? Is it
Maybe
allow
change
the
a
players to?
couple. I mean, changing rules is a little deep,
Yeah.
but I'd send a little memo around saying, hey, I'd send a memo. The ratings are down. Get your defenses up. Give them something to watch. And then try to figure something out from there. Buy me some time.
Would enough players care? That also be the next problem. Because I agree with you. I think defense is a problem. I would like to see them probably allow kind of like the '90s style where defense was allowed to be more physical on the perimeter. I think that's the biggest issue. On the perimeter, you almost have to play defense with your hands behind your back. Because I hate the rip through foul. I think that's stupid. Because every person who plays basketball, they were taught as a kid, when you play defense, your arms are out and you're in your defensive stance. But now with your arms out, these players have gotten so good that they're ripping their arms underneath yours to go for a shot and getting a foul call out of that. That needs to go away. You take that away, you'll fix a lot. Allow the good defenders the ability to actually play perimeter defense. Like interior, I think they're allowed to be physical in the interior because you're closer to the basket. You kind of have to, but allow some physicality on the perimeter. I think you fixed that.
My biggest issue, another issue, because all of that started when you had LeBron James and Chris Bosh and company started that and James Harden.
Mm-hmm.
That's when we got all these stupid calls, the flopping. I'm like,
Yeah.
and they still do it. I'm like, cut this
Mm-hmm.
crap out. That's the reason why we get so many calls anyway. But the players of nowadays are so soft that they look for a foul for everything. They don't even know that defense will ever come back.
I know. Yeah, I don't know.
Bunch of
Because I mean, look, a
crybabies.
lot
They
of that.
act like pansies.
Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of that can
Like,
be fixed with officiating. If officiating sees it, if the officials see the rip through and don't call it, players will stop doing it. But they keep calling it, so players are going to keep doing it. The driving to the hoop and throwing yourself down, getting foul calls, they keep calling them, players will try it. And then players will get
Joel needs to
upset
stop
when the
doing
refs
that.
are
He's
inconsistent.
notorious for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Joel's
Going to the
way too
room.
big. Way
I'm
too
like,
big
you
to be
are
on the ground as
too
much as he is.
big to
Yeah.
be flopping around like a fish out of water. Stop that. And he looks weird when he do it. Just
Hmm.
like a waving tree. I'm like, cut it out.
Yeah.
I can't stand with big man flop.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. I mean, look, maybe they need to listen to Joe Mazzulla. The man said he wants to see fighting. I mean, we know we're not getting that, but I just think it speaks to the overwhelming product as look, the players are talented. We know that. Very skilled athletes. But like you said, you don't want to see guys just I all these 50-point nights and everything. Oh, I think Jori timed out there, but she'll be right back. Um, I feel like the whole 50-point scoring nights and everything. I think in some instances fans like it, but if you get them too often, I think fans are just like, oh, okay. Because there was a time where if you scored 50, like that was a big deal. Now it's okay. When's the next one? And it's usually like 2 nights later.
Like it
And
was this year, like it is this
yeah,
year.
yeah.
Like I remember last year, somebody dropped 60 something points. Multiple people dropped 60 on the game. We only cared about one person. Carl Anthony Towns fell by the wayside because then nobody cared about him. Well, because
Hmm.
he got benched because he didn't want to play basketball.
Hmm.
How you drop 63 points and then forget how to play basketball, Carl?
Yeah.
Make it make sense. Basketball is more about scoring. Right, give me a break.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's the reason why
I
the
mean,
ratings are down.
yeah. I know a lot of people look to the 3-point shooting. I don't think that's a problem. I just think it's because the perimeter you can't do much. Guys are getting open easier, and that's why you have all the threes. But there are a couple of suggestions that are now out there. Steve Kerr has brought up shorten the season. I think Steve Kerr's like 82 games is too much, and that
He
could be
played
part of the ratings
82
decline.
games. He needs to shut up.
But I mean, that could be part of the ratings decline. Maybe some fans are just like, there's 82 games. The players don't even care until a certain point. So then that's when I'll care. I would love to know what he thinks is the perfect number. So, I mean, I'll ask you that. If they were to shorten the season, how many games would you like to see them go to? Well, actually,
I like
are
to
you a fan of shortening the season?
no, because look, Steve, since you think you're the smartest person in the world, if you shorten the season from 62 games, from 82 games to like 60 or whatnot, you're not gonna have as much cushion. You're not gonna have as much margin of error for error.
Mhm.
You're gonna have to take almost all of those games seriously. So,
Maybe that,
and I don't
I
think
assume that's his hope.
he's not coaching a very serious team with unserious ass Draymond.
Yeah. I know it's been
Bodes
floated
well in your
by,
favor.
by people before, shortening the season. That's like every sport. No sport's ever going to do that because then you're losing money. Now,
And then
you
it's
did bring up the
like
All Star. Oh, go ahead, go ahead. Yeah.
in the NFL, you use the first month of the season to really get it together.
Mm-hmm.
After that, the season kind of starts. After Thanksgiving,
Mm-hmm.
it really starts. The NBA has the same old thing. First
Mm-hmm.
month of the season, we're getting the teams together. We're trying to see how we stack up against people, yada, yada, yada. Getting in shape, first month of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get to Christmas. That's when the real NBA season show up. So
Yeah.
if we shorten that period, you don't think everybody's going to be affected by that?
Yeah. I mean, I do kind of think that's probably where the thinking is. Like if you started, so let's just say Christmas Day, with the 5 games and everything, like that was the start of the season. If you're Steve Kerr, do you think the players would be locked in more, knowing that you have a shorter window to get everything going and start playing your best for the playoffs? And would fans look at it as, I don't know, more important games earlier in the season? I mean, I don't know. It's one of those questions that every league goes through. Like baseball, you hear it every year, shorten the 162. You have the NFL where they're talking about, 17, 18 games, and some fans are like, I want to go back to 16. Like all these
They
leagues
can
have to
really
deal with.
kiss it. I like the 18 games.
I'm there with you because number one, it's not like they're adding the games onto the preseason. Like they want to do, because they did what, 17 with 3 preseason games for most teams, and now they're looking at like 18 with 2 preseason games. I'm like, okay, sure. I mean, yes, that puts more on the player's body, but as a fan, I'm here for it. But the other suggestion, because you did bring up the All Star game, Adam Silver came out and said that the league is looking at taking the All Star game and making it a mini tournament. So you'll have 3 teams of 8 players that will play each other. The fourth team will be the winning team from the like rookie sophomore game. Whichever
Mm-hmm.
team wins that will become the fourth team in the tournament, and they'll play each other to see who's the best team out of that.
Does the winner get a prize, like a monetary prize, like they did with the in-season tournament?
That's
Because I
actually a
like
good
that.
question. I don't remember seeing that there's a prize, but I feel like that's probably would be something that would be thrown in there.
I
So,
like
I
that.
mean, I think okay. I was about to ask you, like, would you be down for that?
Because I like the in-season tournament.
I love the in-season tournament. I was always a fan of it.
I
Okay,
was on the fence, and that's on God's internet. I was on the fence about it.
I understand. Yeah, I just think the in-season tournament was a reaction to kind of like Steve Kerr's thing and like all the ratings and stuff early in the season. A lot of NBA fans aren't as locked in as they get. Once the Christmas, like a lot of NBA fans, like I said before, start tuning in. The in-season tournament gives you a reason to watch, certain games early in the season with the court design, everything. It's like a little event. Now the trophy and all that. Like it's a cool thing that the leagues come up with.
Because if you think about it, basketball season starts smack dab in the middle of football season. If there was a
Yes.
way for them to keep all 82 games and then they push back the start of basketball season to closer to like November, I feel like they'd be fine.
So John has need to rework TV deals. Roughly 50% of households have dropped their cable provider and opted for streaming services or virtual pay TV providers like Sling TV. So I guess John's saying if the NBA were to lean more into streaming services, that may help ratings.
They don't want to do exactly what the NFL did because people mad at the NFL because they be price gouging.
Well,
So be careful
well,
about
because
that.
the NFL's problem is Sunday ticket is the problem, and
Mm-hmm.
fans want Sunday ticket because no streaming service costs as much as Sunday ticket. I think for a lot of fans, if the NFL came out and said Sunday ticket costs $16.99 a month, who would turn that down? Nobody. But when they come out and say
Especially
like,
if I'm
"Oh,
just paying for it for my team.
right," that's another thing. Like Sunday ticket, you have to buy the whole package, even if you only want to watch your team. That's the problem the NFL has. I think the streaming service part, where they're now putting games on, you have Prime, you have Peacock, you have Netflix this year. I don't think people actually care about that as much as they want a single team option for Sunday ticket, and they want that price to come down. I think with the
Because when
NBA's
I
new
looked at the
deal,
price, I'm like, who the hell do they think is paying for that?
I feel like the only people who do are like they have a group of friends and they split the cost. I think that's the only way anybody's paying for that anymore. Or you get like free through your. I think some cell phone providers like offer it for free. Like those are the only people who I feel like still have it. So it is crazy. It'll be like
I'm
early
like,
season offer, $2.99 for the season.
I'm like,
Okay,
that's a car note. What are we talking about?
yeah, that's where the NFL's biggest issue is that the price of Sunday ticket. It's a great idea, just the pricing's way off. And
And
even
it's
looking at
like
the
if
new
you
NBA. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
like if you do 16, 15, maybe even 18.99 a month, you'll get your $300 soon enough.
Yes, it's yeah. I don't know why nobody in the league office has figured that out yet, but yeah. I mean, the NBA. I feel like with their new TV deal, they're pretty much leaning into streaming services. Because I was it most of the stuff's gonna well they'll still have ESPN, but even with ESPN, you have ESPN Plus. They are I'm trying to remember who won the NBA. It was ESPN. Well, because they have ABC. Was it Amazon? I can't remember, but yeah. So I think the new NBA deal will kind of fix that a little bit. I think it's a great point, John. You know, sticking to strictly like TNT and stuff like that. It worked for a while, but yeah, you got to go streaming services. As much as some people hate that, but it's just
They
the
just
way it
hate it because
works.
they don't get to watch Shaq and Charles anymore. That's it. That's the only reason why they hate
I yes, and I feel like come on, like
it.
you have to think if those guys really wanted to keep the show going, they would pop up on one of these streaming services with it.
They'll
I know
find a way.
I know Ernie kind of said like he's with TNT, like he wouldn't leave TNT. That doesn't mean he couldn't have a little side gig on a streaming service. I mean, I don't know what his contract is with TNT, but I'm just saying like
Chuck said he'll bring the show to his own because he got his own production network.
I mean, I yeah, that might be the easiest solution. Let them do it on their own. People will tune in as long as they let people know like where it is. Like people will flock to it easily.
I sure will.
Yeah.
Because I
Okay.
like to listen to Shaq hate and get mad at him. Because I'm like, why are you such a hater? It's so entertaining to me.
Nah, it is. He always has his little beefs. Yeah. With actually, I'm trying to think who's the beef this year. Like JaVale McGee, like that one ran its course. He had the Dwight Howard one, but Dwight Howard is partying in Taiwan. That one's not really fun anymore. Is it Cat? I
It
feel
was
like it can
definitely
be.
Cat
Yeah.
and Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, Rudy too. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like people are fine with those two. The JaVale McGee one, like I laughed at it, but I get where JaVale McGee wasn't the biggest fan of it.
Once the mamas got into it, I'm like, oh
Yeah.
Lord, it's just
Yeah.
jokes.
Exactly. But okay. Let's keep it moving. That was a good NBA discussion, but we're gonna get into some NFL now, and we're gonna start with everybody's favorite team to talk about, America's team. Are the Cowboys, because we know that they're having a bad season. We know Jerry Jones. We know Dak Prescott's now out for the season. You know Micah Parsons and just on down the line. Zeke Elliott missing meetings or whatever. Are the Cowboys the most dysfunctional team in the NFL?
They just might be. I thought it was the Jets, but then the Cowboys managed to up one up them. How do you one up the Jets and being dysfunctional? Well,
Pretty hard to do.
exactly. But when Jerry Jones is your owner and your GM, who fosters this type of toxic, hostile work environment, of
Mm-hmm.
course. Like, and the fact that he has the unmitigated gall to sit back there and look dumbfounded and act like he don't know what the hell is going on and why is beyond me. Jerry, you did this. The Panthers are at least winning games. They win. They ran. They went. They they won 2 games back to back.
Yeah.
They're winning a little game. They're winning a little bit. Dallas
Yeah.
looks worse and worse every time I blink my eye. And then you get old motor mouth Micah going.
Who was that? He was at the Tyson
Motor
fight
mouth,
last night.
like you see, like he said what he said. I got what he was saying about. I got where he was going, in a sense. But then he added that little bit at the end for razzle dazzle, talking about Zach Markins never whatever he did about that last bit of that quote. You know exactly
Mm-hmm.
that part. That's
Mm-hmm.
the part that pissed me off because I'm like, that's disrespectful. I don't care about
Yeah.
intent.
Mm-hmm.
Intent don't matter. You did it. What you did. What you did.
Right.
You said
Yeah.
what you said.
If you're gonna say it, stand behind it.
And then to sit on his stupid ass podcast talking about the media did this and trying to gaslight us into thinking that we're stupid when he said what he said is absolutely asinine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Micah, do you listen to people like Shannon Sharp and company who say that you can't sit here and chastise the media for doing something when you're a part of the media? You feed into your own stupid ass narratives by running your mouth. He talked too much. Somebody in that damn locker room need to punch him and need to deck him.
Mm-hmm.
That's his problem. He's talking too much without consequence. And Jerry's allowing it. Actually, you have Jerry trying to defend it. If we didn't know Mike McCarthy was a dead man walking already, Micah and Jerry would have just put it out there on blast right then and there.
Yeah.
Like, and the thing, and it's the loud, it's with them and the Saints. The loud, them and the Saints. The
Mm-hmm.
position groups that are talking are the main ones not doing jack squat. Micah, you were just injured. You're coming back from an injury. And this has not been very quiet about your injury. You haven't been quiet ever since you've been out. You've been yakety yak 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 all the entire time. So we're already warned on you because you're not playing, but you're commenting like you're playing. And you're talking like you're playing. It's a distraction. And we already know that he's getting on some of his teammates' nerves. We know that. Malik Hooker already said that he don't like that podcast. Off rip. And Micah said, well, I don't know why you have to go on a podcast and tell me. Well, you go on a podcast and tell everything else. Mr. Pot calling the kettle black. Shut up for once.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I mean, I think because only going back to John's point about the Cowboys and the Panthers, like you said, the Panthers are winning. The dysfunction with the Panthers is the owner. The Cowboys, it's owner, players, fans, like it's all around with the Cowboys. I will say, I know you brought the Jets. I'm still gonna say the Jets are the most dysfunctional because Aaron Rodgers is the most dysfunctional player in the league. So since he's in New York with the market of New York, the attention with the way the season's gone, you know, was it this past week where Sauce Gardner's talking about the whole tackling instructional, talk from the
When
coaches
I don't
and
know why
him.
he's getting in his feelings when he was on the field acting like he didn't know how to tackle. If the shoe
Yeah,
fits, wear it. And
yeah,
quit crying. Learn how to tackle. You've been getting mugged all season and getting penalties. Your play has slipped. You don't get to sit here and act like that, like you just know how to tackle and you don't need any help. Clearly you do. Look at the tape.
yeah. But that just speaks to the dysfunction in New York. It's
Huh.
a team that
Delusional
thought,
people.
but it's like a team that thought, okay, we got Aaron Rodgers. Our defense is great. Offense was decent. We just needed that quarterback. It hasn't gone the way anybody in New York thought. Now it's finger pointing. Now it's sensitivity. You know to tell us well how to do our job. We know how to do it. If you knew how to do it, you wouldn't be 3-7, staring a top pick in the face in the next draft. So the
If you knew
coaches
how
have a
to
reason to talk to
tackle,
you about it.
if you knew how to tackle, Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals don't put up 31 points on you. What are
Exactly.
we talking about here? And you got the
Mm-hmm.
nerve, the gall to be sensitive, and we know how to tackle, and we don't need help, and da 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 da. When all up and down the field, you needed help. Are we
Mm-hmm.
delusional?
Yeah.
Like,
John has another
what's going
question.
on?
John has a question. Which team do we trust in more going to go further that no one's talking about? The Eagles or the Steelers?
The Steelers.
Okay. I mean, this
And
kind of plays into your tiers that are coming up later. So those of you watching, Jori has an updated version of her tiers, which will kind of speak on this question. But yeah, go ahead.
like, I don't trust Sirianni. He's already gotten to they're winning games, but he's tried to blow them. I do not trust Sirianni. And if this team goes on a losing streak, it will combust. Don't don't trust their record. They're worse than that record. They're playing very well. I will give them credit, but they are a losing streak away from spontaneously combusting.
Yeah, uh, yeah. So I agree. I would say the Steelers. I think it's because I think with the Steelers you have a wider margin of error. I think with the Eagles as well as they're playing, we've also seen with the Eagles when things start going bad, it gets worse for them before it gets
Hmm.
better. And I think that's the worry. I think in Pittsburgh, because of Tomlin, because of the culture that he set, because of how that defense plays, if Russ or Justin Fields, whoever was behind center, if their play slips a little bit, I feel like other players would step up to make up for it. I think in Philly, if Jalen Hurts is having a bad day, I think the team just completely drops their head and you see it affect their defense and everything like that. And maybe that's because of Sirianni. Because, like you said, if you had Mike Tomlin or Nick Sirianni, you're taking Tomlin every day of the week because of what he's established and what he has shown to be in the playoffs in tough situations. Sirianni can be very hot and cold. And I think that's the biggest worry. If they get into a playoff matchup and they struggle in the first half, do you trust Sirianni to go into the locker room, come up with a new plan to fix it?
No, but I trust
Exactly.
him to go into the locker room screaming at fans and being childish.
Right. And so yes, I definitely agree with you, and that's why I think even though both teams are playing well right now, I would trust the Steelers a little bit more, and that's even with the AFC being tough at the top. Yeah, I would trust the Steelers. But another good question from you, John. So we talked about the Cowboys. Now we're gonna kind of go a little bit broader here with locker room drama, coaches on the hot seat. We saw Salah get dismissed a couple of weeks ago. We saw Dennis Allen get dismissed in New Orleans. We've even seen like Shane Waldron get dismissed in Chicago, which now puts the onus on Matt Eberflus. So I guess looking at these coaches, and it's also interesting that look, Dennis Allen's gone. We see the Saints locker room. We were hearing noise from Michael Thomas and some other guys. You know, Jets move on from Salah. Now it's Sauce Gardner and all these players are talking. I guess the Cowboys are talking in their locker room, but Mike McCarthy, another coach, on the hot seat. Funny that the correlations there between a lot of these teams. I know there's a few more coaches that you want to bring up, but I think with each of those coaches, look at the locker room culture. You might have a reason why those coaches are on the hot seat. And John kind of brought up our favorite one.
Yeah.
He said, "Watch, Doug Peterson will be the next one gone." So yeah,
Oh,
so
do the
go ahead.
Jags play the Panthers? Because if they play the Panthers and they lose, Bryce Young might get another one.
I mean, the Panthers are the team that, yeah, it's like there's two things that work against you. Overseas, or you lose to the Panthers. But yeah, so I mean, do you agree with John that Peterson's the next to go? Or I guess who are the coaches that you feel like should be looking over their shoulder or
Because if you look at the
trying to avoid the owners?
because if you look at the fired ones, Salah that blew up in the Jets' face, and they deserve that. Because now
Mm-hmm.
look at that defense; it's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Dennis Allen that was needed, and I don't agree with how they treated Derek Carr. The Saints will never. I hope the Saints never achieve success because of what they did. I'll
Right.
get to that later. Oh, poor them. Well, Doug's job is safe, I guess. They don't play the Panthers,
No.
but pink slip ready. Doug Peterson is definitely one off because they find ways to lose games. I'm like, are y'all finding a new way to lose each week? I thought as a Titans fan, I'd be a little irritated.
Well, actually, you do know who the Jags play? They play the Lions.
Oh, definitely, Doug Peterson finna get fired. He's finna get fired because they
Dan
finna get
Campbell's
Dan
not the
Campbell
guy
like
you want to look
hell.
across and see coming. Yeah. So yeah. But yeah, keep
Doug
going.
Peterson is about to get fired. He better count his days. Because what Detroit finna do to Jacksonville, who can't stop a nosebleed and who can't get out of their own way to save their lives, is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely not conducive to mention on the internet. um, Dayball is definitely not safe, and if they get rid of him, I'm like, you should be praying to get fired from the Giants because they stuck you with a quarterback that wasn't worth jack squat.
Mm-hmm.
Zach Taylor, I put him on the futuristic look. Give him another season or two of slow starts and bull jobs like this. He's definitely gonna be on the hot seat. And then just to look at it, in the deep down in the future, Todd Bowles could be on the hot seat in the near future. Give that a season because I'm hearing voices in Tampa Bay. Whatever head coach the Jets decide to hire this offseason, they'll be on the hot seat again. Dave Canales, because he's a mediocre head coach, and I know David Tepper.
Yeah.
And Mike McFraud. And do I need to say anything else about McDaniels?
No. Look, I'm there with you. This has been a terrible season for Mike McDaniel. I get it. You lost Tua there for a couple of games, but before Tua went out, the team didn't look right. With Tyler Huntley, they looked even worse. Tua's been back. Yeah, they won Thursday night against the Rams, but it wasn't pretty. It was just a mess. It was just that the Rams happened to be more of a mess that night than you were. So I agree. I think in Miami, was it the Rosses that run that team? They're not exactly the most patient either. I
Oh,
don't care
John,
how
I was
much
talking
you and
about
Tua
the
are best friends, but yeah.
John, I was talking about the head coach in Miami. They gonna give him multiple years in Seattle, just like they're
Yeah.
gonna give him multiple years in Tennessee.
'Cause
I was
I feel
talking
like
about the winning.
Seattle's more reasonable with their expectations from Mike McDonald. Anthony brings up an interesting person. Antonio Pierce. Seat is getting hot next year.
Starting next
I,
year,
mhm.
I mean, I wouldn't even say 2 years is enough, considering the talentless void that is the Raiders.
Yeah,
That's a black hole. He needs time.
but
Time
but
where expectations are low.
but there's a conspiracy theory in Raiderland. Tom Brady just got into ownership. What if Tom Brady tries to get Bill Belichick to Vegas?
That's way too much fun doing what he's doing. I think he done coaching.
I, I'm just saying. I feel like I don't know. As stoic as people think Belichick is, I feel like Belichick would have a lot of fun in Vegas. But that's always going to become the connection because
And let him
Brady's
get a
there.
quarterback. He ain't got no quarterback. How you gonna give him 2 years and then not give him a quarterback damn year? And then try to fire him?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. But they can get away with it. Like if they fired Antonio Pierce for some unproven guy, that would be an issue. But if you fired him for Bill Belichick, nobody's going to care. But I agree with you. Antonio Pierce is not the issue with the Raiders. He's trying to win with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. Name me a coach that's winning with those two. Uh, oh,
Give him a
uh,
quarterback first.
so John says Pierce will get Shadur Sanders or Dylan Gabriel in the draft. Then let's see how he does.
You know, when it comes to Shadur Sanders, he's gonna go wherever his daddy let him go. So I really don't care.
I, Dion would love Vegas.
Of course,
Yeah,
more shine on
so
him.
he'll let Shadur go there. That's no problem there. John says Belichick will go to the Browns, in his opinion. I guess that'd be going full circle on his career. And then Anthony said, talking about Antonio Pierce, no quarterbacks, no wide receivers. I mean, their best pass catcher is Brock Bowers, the tight end. They have Jacoby Myers, who's, he's a good number two receiver. But yeah, I agree. They don't have necessarily the greatest wide receiver group. Do you think Brady will go after Darnold next year?
No, Sam Darnold has pretty much shown why he is a backup.
He would be an upgrade over what they
He'd be
have.
an upgrade over whatever they got.
Yeah.
But if Antonio wants to keep his job, he don't
Yeah,
need
you'd
another
probably
bridge
be better off getting
quarterback.
a young. Yeah, you'd be better off getting a
Go
young
draft
guy.
you one.
Yeah.
And then you
Although,
might get a few more years to really try to develop them.
or they make
Bide
the
your
Chicago
time.
Bears mistake, let him draft somebody and then fire him and bring somebody else in. That dreaded cycle.
Now with Brady there, I think he gonna get in Mark Davis's ear and say, "Hey,
Hmm.
don't do no dysfunctional crap. Let
Yeah,
him gel with the coach, and when there's a clear void, that's when you let go.
yeah,
Don't
yeah.
sit here and be flip. Don't be the Bears.
Yes, that's. 'Cause I know that they talked about I think Robert Kraft they said was calling around on how to uh, deal with a young quarterback. Let's pray he didn't call the Bears because they clearly don't know what they're doing. Because I mean, we were talking about locker room drama and coaches. They lost Shane Waldron, the OC. Eberflus, obviously, that puts the tension square on him. But what about the whole thing about they actually thought about sitting Caleb Williams?
And I have a big ass problem with this. Not a
Yes.
small problem. I have a big problem because they weren't the report I read it. It wasn't very specific about what side of the ball veterans were talking. Because if it was offensive veterans, your ass need to be getting benched too for not showing up.
Mm-hmm.
The only type of people that have room to talk up in there, go up to anybody saying that somebody needs to be benched is the defense.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're doing this, trying to kill this kid's confidence, and the fact that that report was actually credible, that made me sad. I'm like, they trying to do what? I'm like, if the Chicago is not careful, they're gonna break him.
Yeah.
We've seen broken young quarterbacks. Look at Bryce Young. He's just now getting his mojo back. And seeing him smile after a win is the biggest boost of serotonin you can get. Because it's like he don't know what to do with himself because he's just now getting his confidence back. I think it's cute. But,
Mm-hmm.
like, and the thing is, all of this started because of Tyreek Stevenson starting his crap versus Washington, tipping a ball, and they lost over a Hail Mary. That's how all of this started. They were being decent.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that the offense has shown some signs of crackage through that, but once that happened, the roof fell in. All of a sudden, you don't know how to score a touchdown. You can barely cross the 50. The offensive linemen forget how to block. Where's Keenan Allen? And
Yeah.
why is he holding on to the ball for 5 to 6 seconds? This is the NFL. This is not Madden. You get 3 seconds max, if that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
That
like, ugh.
that's the thing. Like the fact that Caleb Williams does hold onto the ball a little bit long now gives you shades of Fields because Fields had that same issue in Chicago. I find it hard to believe that Williams needs to hold the ball for guys to get open when you have Keenan Allen, who's a pro's pro at the wide receiver position. Yeah, he may not stretch the field all that well, but he can get open underneath, and maybe that's where Caleb needs to start going more often. Go underneath, get into a rhythm, and then look for like DJ Moore downfield over the top because we know that's what he can do really well. He can stretch the field. Rome Dunze, he's a rookie, so he's
He's gonna
whatever.
grow.
That
He's gonna
yeah,
have
he,
to go
he,
into his
he's a
own.
built-in excuse. But Moore and Allen are veterans in this league. The offense should not look the way it did against New England. And I know New
And the
England got 9 sacks against them, but it was painful to watch that Bears offense.
and the fact that Matt Eberflus is his inability to galvanize a grape
Mm-hmm.
is astonishing. Like, you're very uninspiring. I look at your press conferences and I can go to sleep. Uninspiring. I can imagine them blowing you out and tuning you out and la 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 in the locker room.
So I think what Anthony was saying here is he would. I guess you're saying you would take Caleb Williams over Anthony Richardson because you said Richardson ain't it.
Oh yeah, Richardson stinks, but we all knew that. I knew that. A lot of people were like, he's a project quarterback. The coach decided to take him third or fifth overall, whatever it was, with that high old pick,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't want to take the time out to develop him. He did not need to be starting game one. Now you want to bench him. Now you want to bench him because he said I was too tired and da 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 da. And the only reason why he's playing now is because Flacco looked worse.
Oh, okay,
That's the
so
only
Anthony
reason
was
why
saying
he's playing.
so he's saying he would bench Anthony Richardson, then Caleb Williams, Richardson ain't it. Okay,
Yeah, Richardson stinks.
yeah,
I'm like, and
yeah.
then
I think.
and
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
here we go with the quarterback carousel of the Colts again. You mess
Yeah.
up with Andrew Luck, and look at what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Colts are a bunch of overrated talent and bunch of names anyway, but ran by a drunkard.
The Colts are like it seems like a lot of NFL personalities you see on TV. There's something about the Colts they just love being optimistic about. Because I agree with you, with Ursay, who's like Jerry Jones light, that's a problem. I do think the fact that they took Anthony Richardson, knowing his deficiencies, started him week one. I assume they were starting him for him to work through it all. But that doesn't mean. But with that, I know last year he got hurt or whatever. But this season, he's playing. Obviously, you're going through some struggles. To then yank him out of there to put Joe Flacco in, who we know what he did with Cleveland last season. And then 2 games into that experiment, you're going back to Anthony Richardson. Did he learn something in the 2 weeks he wasn't starting that we are missing?
No,
Or is he just going to go back out there on the field and look the same way? Because if he does, then what was the point of pulling him in the first place?
he's going to go back to making throws that 99.9% of people can't do and missing the ones that 99.9% people can.
Yeah. So I just don't understand it. So Anthony should be a rule. You have to play more than 2 years in college before you get. Well, the rule is 3. So that rule's there.
He stunk in college.
Yeah.
He had these same issues in college. It was on the tape. He played in SEC. He was on national games. They knew.
But in college you can get away with that. Being a great athlete, with certain players playing around you and all that, yeah. Like that's easy to hide, I guess, a little bit. But the whole point of you as an NFL team, and this goes for like anybody you draft, nobody you draft is a perfect product. There's supposed to be some development in there once they get into your facility. And that's why I'm like, and I know you agree with this, like, if the decision was made that Richardson was ready enough or you guys were ready for him to start right away, then you kind of have to live with it until you get to the point where you're pulling him because he's no longer good enough and you're ready to move on. You can't pull him and then put him back in 2 weeks and then act like he's our guy. We're ready to go. I don't understand why teams do this because we talked about Bryce Young. The Panthers did the same thing. I'm sorry, I didn't know the Panthers were a Super Bowl team and Bryce Young was holding them back. Like you let Bryce Young play, you let him. If he throws, I don't care if he throws 40 interceptions, let him work it all out because there's a speed difference that these young quarterbacks have to get used to. And once they do, then you'll know what kind of player they are. Certain situations they go to, there's no weapons around them. So how can you clearly evaluate these guys if they don't have anybody around them?
And the Colts keep overrating these same old weapons that keep getting injured, that keep disappearing at various points of the season. Jonathan Taylor included, because there's Colts fans that are, Jonathan Taylor's always been better than Derrick Henry. There's Colts fans that have actually said that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, Jonathan Taylor hasn't been better than Derrick Henry when Derrick Henry broke his foot. What are you talking about? Anyway, they overrate the same old players. They don't draft well. And now you got this quarterback who's a project quarterback who struggles with his accuracy and actually throwing the ball at times. And you pull him, but apparently he was good enough to start, but he's not good enough to continue starting into his second year. Then you pull him. Flacco looks a little bit better, then he sinks. And now you put him back in there. Yeah. Now with the Panthers, they pulled Bryce 2 games in. That might have saved them. And let Dalton play more, and then the accident happened. He had more time to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But when Anthony Richardson's case, if he was supposed to watch and see how the offense was ran effectively, what was he watching last year?
That's fair. That's definitely fair to ask.
Coming back and winning games, looking like an NFL quarterback, We don't know what Anthony Richardson is going to look like because he's never looked like an NFL quarterback, even last year. So the fact
Hmm.
that that the Colts are surprised about what this experiment looking like is about to be a ginormous fail, that's what they get.
Hmm. Yeah. And look, Colts, you made the decision. You've gone back to Anthony Richardson. Guess what? You can no longer, you can't pull him again. Because now, if you pull him again this season, that needs to be the end of him. Like that has to be the sign to Colts fans. Richardson's not it. We're we're gonna have a draft pick. We're gonna take one of these guys coming out, and we'll start it over. And even with John talking about Jonathan Taylor is a good running back. The problem is the offense for a lot of his time there was just him and mediocrity at the quarterback position, below average wide receivers. So every
Mm.
defense knew when Jonathan Taylor was on the field, he was getting a screen pass or they were handing the ball off to him. I think if the Colts knew what they were doing, like if they did right by Andrew Luck and Andrew Luck had Jonathan Taylor, the Colts would look so much better.
Luck would still be playing.
Because they did the same thing to Luck. They told Luck, hey, here's your wide receivers, go make it happen. And Luck had some struggle with interceptions some years and everything like that. But yeah, the Colts have just messed up on so many levels, which John also said, like, they'll trade Jonathan Taylor, free up space, get draft picks, and fail all over again because they'll draft the wrong people. Anthony has a question. Since Dak is out, why not play Trey Lance? You're not playing him means you don't believe in him after trading for him.
Mike McCarthy's trying to save his job, even though I feel like the point is absolutely it's
Yeah.
useless. But he is trying to save his job. He is not going to sit here and put his job in the faith of a fourth round of somebody they traded for a third or fourth round pick.
Yeah.
Unproven. Who's raw?
Especially if he hasn't shown in practice that he's the better option between he and Cooper Rush. He, yeah, Mike McCarthy's not going to go off on a whim and say, let's see what the kid has. If Trey
No.
Lance proves it in practice, Mike McCarthy, I'm sure, would give him the opportunity.
But he's trying to save his job. He's trying to cover his own tail. He already
Yeah.
knows he's on thin wire. He don't want to do nothing else that's just going to make Jerry's mind up for him.
Mm-hmm. Now, if we do get one of those Jerry loves to talk to the world interviews and Jerry brings up Trey Lance, know that that's the moment Mike McCarthy was fired. Because if Jerry
Yes.
comes out and goes, I like Trey and we're going to get him on the field, Mike McCarthy, start clearing out your desk. Because that's the moment where Jerry Jones has now taken over your job, which we kind of know Jerry Jones does behind the scenes. But yeah, so I wouldn't be shocked if Trey Lance doesn't make an appearance at some point, but it'd probably be like week 16, 17, something like that, when Cooper Rush has been out there, has struggled for several weeks, and it's just like, let's see if we're in the same position next year. Would Trey Lance be able to do anything? Because I mean, I agree, and I know, Jori, you feel the same way. It's like Trey Lance was an unknown when he was drafted,
Mm-hmm.
and for whatever reason, injuries or whatever, few years into his career, he's still an unknown. If I was to ask anybody who is Trey Lance, what does he do well, who would
Sit
have
on
an
the
answer?
bench.
Yeah, like what's Trey Lance's ceiling?
The
Who has
water
an
boy.
answer for that?
If he knew
And
the
plus,
plays, he'd
yeah,
still be in San Francisco.
true.
Even when he was healthy. If he was worth something, he'd be in San Francisco. He got beat out by Brock Purdy. Now nobody saw Brock Purdy coming.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe other than Shanahan. Shanahan's the only person who can claim that. He
Right.
drafted
Right.
him.
Yeah.
But he's not that good. They put him in for one snap so he could run the ball. He's not that good. If they were serious about getting him a snap, they would have had them back there to pass. But
Yeah.
Dallas is such an unserious franchise that, yeah,
Yeah.
damned if they do, damned if they don't.
Right. I feel like Trey Lance's best option here is if McCarthy wants to do like a two quarterback system, certain situations, you have a certain set of plays for Trey Lance to run. That might be his lot in the NFL right now. I I don't know. The question will have to be asked: is it that he's just not good enough? He hasn't been developed enough, or he hasn't been put in the right situation yet?
Kyle Shanahan gave up on him. What does that tell you?
I mean, that's a good point. I don't know where Trey Lance goes after this, where you would be like, yeah, I don't even know what situation. What
Because
Sean
if Kyle
McVay?
Shanahan
You want
gives
to
up
try him
on
with
you,
McVay?
yeah. Because
McVay
if Kyle
McVay would probably check
Shanahan,
out.
yeah, give him a McVay or a Cliff Kingsbury, maybe they can fix him. But the fact that Kyle Shanahan was like, I'm good on you now,
Mm-hmm.
it says a lot.
Yeah, it does. All right, let's keep rolling through here. So now, sticking with some NFL, got our team reports. This is something that we started a couple of weeks ago, where obviously, if you're new to the show, Jori is a Titans fan. I'm a Patriots fan. So we'll start with you, Jori. I guess give us a quick update on where things stand with the Titans. They have a game this weekend against it was on the tip of my tongue and I just forgot it. Who do the Titans play this weekend?
The Vikings.
Yes, there we go. So I guess give us where the team stands as they go up against a tough NFC opponent, and I guess maybe some
Well,
things you're looking for from this week. Yeah, go ahead.
injuries I'm not so concerned about. My offensive line, the right side is a little concerning. Again, Nicholas Petit Frere needs to go ahead and be a full-time fantasy expert.
Mm-hmm.
And the offensive lineman named Leroy is going to get you flagged. Uh, Will, I need him to continue to make good decisions, be decisive, be decisive. Know that these last 8 games are going to dictate the rest of your career. He needs to get serious because we have a high draft pick. And if we can go get a quarterback, I'm not against the. I'm like, go get me a quarterback because I got too many competitors. What the fuck ever, whatever. I got too many competitors in that locker room to waste another year fumbling around with Will. If Will is not it, these are his final 8 games to show that he has what it takes. Callahan needs to. Callahan and Rand need to suck it up. Rand needs to chalk that one as an L. Go get me a quarterback and go get me a right tackle. Last year was the left tackle. Now I need a right tackle. Actually, I need a right guard.
Okay.
But keep it. Can we keep it cute? That's all I ask. Can the special teams look week 18? After that ends Monday morning, I want Cole Anderson fired. I'm like, oh my god, because we watching my team play. It's like a collection of chaos. My defense might be getting going. My special teams gives the other team great field position. My offense might be stagnant. Special teams does something stupid. Or my offense might be good. Special teams gives the other team great field position or does something incredibly stupid or some type of blunder. They don't know how to do punt returns or whatnot correctly. Like, oh my God. So yeah, Black Monday, he need to be gone.
Okay. I
I
mean, as a Patriots fan, special teams was a big issue a couple of seasons ago. So I completely understand where you're coming from with that one. So I guess a question for you. I know we'll do picks later, so I don't know if you plan on picking Titans Vikings, but looking at that game and I guess the challenges that the Vikings do have and present, what's the key for the Titans going up against Minnesota?
again, Will needs to be decisive. Brian Flores is going to throw the book at him. I know that for a fact. He's gonna blitz him. Will, his decisions that he do make do not need to lead me damn near breaking my phone. Last week was a pleasant break from the exaggerated Will Levis shenanigans. He played decent. Special teams just get put us in some bad situations. So I want him to continue to make solid decisions and continue to be decisive. Stop. No more hero. You cannot play hero ball this game. Sam Darnold, you can tee off on him.
Okay.
You can turn him over too. Do that.
Yeah. Because I mean, I know like John's comment about focusing on the draft, and part of that is where like Rand will have to start kind of thinking about that. You know, I mean, your team, my team, know that the playoffs aren't feasible this year. So now it's like this latter part of the season is like talent evaluation and really honing in on this player works here, this player we can upgrade, who in college could come in and be the upgrade. So, because like I said, with the Patriots, it's the same thing. Like there's several positions that maybe you feel a little bit. I mean, not several, but there's certain positions you feel better about. What was it 10, 11 weeks in? But there's still positions that when I look at them and I know that Elliot Wolf and those guys look at them and see, okay, so now we're going to be focusing our scouting and all this on, probably like a speed linebacker to keep up with a lot of these spread offenses. O-line is an issue in New England as well. So yeah, I mean, look, the Patriots have the Rams this week. The Patriots are coming off of a good win against a Bears team that, as we talked about earlier. Yes, you did. Yes. You did. Yes, you absolutely did. Because the Bears look like a team that's like teetering on a house of cards just completely falling apart. And now they get a Rams team that's 4-5, not a great team, but they still have Matt Stafford. So the challenge will be there for the pass rush that showed us the 9 sacks against the Bears. Now we want to see that as a normal thing. They picked up Yannick Ngakoue off of, I think, the Ravens practice squad or something. Let's see what he has. Clearly, he was on a practice squad for a reason. See how much gas is in the tank. See what he can add to the pass rush. I would love to see them get after Matt Stafford, make it a little bit easier on the secondary. Because we know Stafford can throw the ball, even though he's been wildly inconsistent this year. Offensively, I feel like Drake May wasn't great against the Bears, but he still showed why he's the guy moving forward. Because he made a couple of throws that were like, okay, that's what they can work with.
The
I
Bears
think they
have a good
help.
defense. I expected them to confuse him.
Right,
Rams can't stop nothing.
exactly. So I would like to see, more of the kind of creativity on offense that they showed against the Bears. Because I do think for a few weeks the offense was looking real stagnant. Same handoffs to Ramondre Stevenson. It was like the same passing plays with Drake May, but against the Bears they showed some wrinkles. Love that. I feel like that. It keeps the players invested. I don't know. It was just better to see that because it looks like the offense is trying to do something to trick the defense and to actually win these games. So I want to see more of that. And look, if the Patriots can win against the Rams, they have another couple of games that are winnable. So this 3-7, I think, could look like 6-7 going into their bye week. Which, if they pull that off, I don't know. I'm not going to say playoffs are possible because the AFC, it's going to be tough. You're going to need probably 10 wins to get in, and there may be a chance that a decent 10-win team might be left out. But I'm just at the point where, kind of like you said, be competitive. Give me something. If it's a Drake May touchdown pass, I can be like, okay, fine. They did something, and I'm okay with it. John, who loves reminding every week, he did say they wouldn't finish at the bottom of the division,
Yeah,
like
that's gonna be
everybody
the
was saying.
Jets.
And John, I said the same thing. I said that because I think when I made my predictions, I had the Patriots finishing third in the division. I don't think I had the Jets finishing last. Only because my sick humor was I wanted the Jets to make the playoffs, have New York fans get all hyped, and then lose in the wild card round. That was my sick dream for the Jets. They can't even do that right. They're probably going to finish last because with each loss, Aaron Rodgers is going to check more and more out on that team. There's a
And the
good
Patriots
chance.
already beat them. They already
Yeah,
split.
yeah. And I made that prediction before the season as well that they were going to split with the Jets. A lot of people thought the Jets were going to go like 14-3 or something. Like, no, I know who Aaron Rodgers is. But yes, John, I know you said that. I agree with you on that. Yes. Because like I said, the Patriots' next few games, I think they have it's Rams, Colts, and who's the other team? Hold on. I'll tell you in a second. Dolphins. Rams, Dolphins, Colts before their bye week. 3 games that are winnable. And then they get the Cardinals after the bye, which good luck trying to predict what the Cardinals are going to do. Don't be
They can
shocked if
out
Miami
physical
drops
the
more
they can
games.
out physical the Cardinals.
Yeah, because I do think the defense has played well. And I think with the insertion of Drake May, the energy that's around the team is strictly positive. I feel like more players you hearing like when they talk, they love what Gerard Mayo's building there. Even though there are some Patriots fans that like weren't happy with him. I'm perfectly fine with what Gerard Mayo's doing. Like he has done a great job with the circumstances. So,
I bet it was those Patriots fans that didn't like him the day he stepped foot.
so here's the weird thing with Patriots fans, because there's Patriots fans that hated Belichick at the end, didn't like how the drafts were going, and then when they decided to move on from Belichick, it was the same fans that were like, the minute they were losing games early in the season, wish I had Bill back. It's like, no, you don't.
No,
You don't, because you didn't like Belichick last year. You can't sit here and judge Gerard Mayo off of halfway into
Titans
his
fans are
first
doing
season.
that same stuff. Because all
Yeah,
last year, we need a new head coach. I'm tired of Mike Vrabel and da 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 da. So they fired Vrabel, got rid of Callahan, and now we're 3-7. Where's Vrabel when you need him? Shut the hell up. You wanted an
that's how the
offensive
fan
minded
bases do it.
coach.
Yeah,
You wanted an offensive minded coach. You should know that sometimes these things take time when it comes with offensive minded coaches. Defensive minded coaches can come in right away and galvanize the team because they're tough and raw. But offensive minded head coaches, they usually need a season or two.
yeah. And plus, with defensive minded coaches, since a lot of them don't do much of anything offensively, the attention on that side of the ball goes to the coordinator. And that's usually why, with a lot of defensive coaches, when they fire that offensive coordinator, that's usually a sign that that defensive minded coach has like one do over to get the right coordinator in there. Because if they
Before they
fail on
get
the second
canned.
coordinator, then then the defensive minded coach is usually out the door. But we'll see. We will see how our teams do this week, and we'll be back next week with more reports on our teams, kind of the pulse of us as fans. But now we're gonna go ahead and take a look at Jori's jacked up tiers. Uh, did one a couple weeks ago, which I have right here. So hold on, let me bring it up. Actually, do that there. So this was your first one. Where is it? Hold on. Why does the screen share not work now? Well, that's not fair. Hold on. At least I can figure this out. Yeah, it's not sharing. I'll have to figure. Okay, so I guess I have to do the audible version. Uh, my fault on that with everybody. I gotta figure this out because the screen sharing has been kind of an issue for a little bit. As John
I
says, I
might
know
be
the
able to
Texans
pull it
have
up. I
on
forgot
your
to
end.
drop them. Actually, thank you for reminding me. That'll be done next week.
Yeah. Um. So I will say that on your the first one you did, J Dubs Club, which is like the VIP best teams in the league. You had Lions, Vikings, Chiefs, and the Packers. And well, I guess should we just compare each line with the new and the old, or just do the old one first and then your new one?
Now my computer wanna freeze.
Well, we got it. We got it. I guess we'll go back and forth. Yeah, let's do that. So that was because that was the one you did. I believe you did it one 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
Now you have a new member in the J Dub Club. As actually, you have two new members. Yes,
Yep.
because you have the Vikings and the Packers dropping out and being replaced by the Bills and the Steelers. So I guess you want to give a quick explanation for why you swapped those
The
two teams out.
Bills with Josh Allen, even with the unproven young receiver core that they have, that little extra receiver core that they have, they're playing very well, and that defense is still playing very well. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, I've been on the fence about them all season, but how they managed to knuckle up and win that game versus the Commanders, it was the Commanders, was it? Yep.
Yes.
How they managed to knuckle up and win that game pretty much had me sold. I'm like, all right, gotcha. Y'all are clearly one of the better teams in the in the NFL right now. Um, if you're gonna ask me where Baltimore is, they have a permanent spot. They're not moving up. Period.
And we will get to that group here in a second. I mean, look. I think the Lions and the Chiefs, you'll get no argument from anybody. If anybody disputes those two, they're probably I don't know. Probably some rival team fan that just doesn't like him. I think Bills and Steelers are interesting. I'm there with you. I think the Steelers, with the switch to Russ, they just look like a much different team, and because of that, I do think that they deserve to be up there. I know that they have um, the game with Baltimore and everything like that, but yeah, I think Pittsburgh with what they do defensively and how confident Russell Wilson looks right now, I think they deserve to be there. Buffalo's interesting because Josh Allen. I feel like early in the season we thought it was like mostly good Josh Allen. We've seen bad Josh Allen creep up a little bit
Mm-hmm.
past couple of games, but I do agree that they are a good team, and this week they have a big matchup, which we might learn something about them that probably could affect where you have them in your next version of this. So I think with those four up there, I don't have a problem with it at all. So now the second level down is your strong set. So second level in the pyramid, just below the J Dub Club. Like these are the teams that standing in the waiting line trying to get in. So the first one you had the Falcons, Commanders, Buffalo was there, which we said Buffalo has moved up to the J Dub Club. You had the Ravens, the Bucks, and the Niners. Now, interesting with the first one, the Steelers weren't on that level, so the Steelers have made a big jump in your eyes, and I think that's fair because a lot of people probably feel the same way. And now, at that level, you have the Eagles, Commanders are still there, the Ravens are still there, the Niners are still there, and then the Vikings and Packers have been moved out of the club and are on that level. So actually, the Eagles, yeah, the Eagles weren't there in the first one, so the Eagles have moved up a bit on your tier list. So I guess with that group that's in the strong set, which one is the closest to moving up to the club?
The 49ers
Okay.
or the Eagles. The Vikings are closer to moving down than they are to moving up.
Okay.
The Packers, Jordan Love need to stop the foolishness. Cut that crap out. That's what got them kicked out of the Dub Club.
Yeah. And John, we'll let you know where the Bengals are in a minute.
Like
Okay.
the Philadelphia Eagles, they'll probably stay there because I feel like their locker room and their whole situation is way too fragile for me to be confident putting them up there. The Commanders, you have a rookie quarterback. You're playing very well. Defense still gives me some heebie jeebies. My hatred for the Ravens makes me, I'm unable to put them on the top of anything. That's their permanent spot.
I'm not gonna get any pushback from me.
San Francisco is starting they're starting to flip that switch. It's kind of like that weird space of a switch that's in the middle of on and off. They're right there.
Mm-hmm.
They keep on, they gonna nudge the switch back to, they're gonna flip the switch. They're on move up watch, and yeah,
Okay.
the Falcons move down because I'm not impressed with that pass rush.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
Kirk started being Kirk.
Kirk can't help himself. Like that's Kirk is gonna be Kirk. He's just yeah. But I do think with the Falcons, which I guess we'll talk about in a little bit with the next level that they're on. But remember before the season when they got Matt Judon and everybody was looking at that like, oh, this is what's gonna unlock
It looks a
that
little silly
defensive.
now.
Yeah, he just hasn't been able to do it in with Atlanta. I know a lot of Patriots fans were upset with that move. And yes, the record isn't there, but imagine if he was on the Patriots, they weren't winning and he wasn't producing. It would look a lot worse. So maybe
Y'all
he's
get
lucky that
Barmore
they're.
back.
I'm so glad. I mean, he had the crazy health scare with what was it? It was like a heart
Blood
thing.
clots.
Blood clots, yes. And yeah, he's back at practice. I know Gerard Mayo said like when he's ready to play, he's gonna play. And it looks like he may play this weekend, which I'm so excited to see. But all right. So now the third line, which is your mediocrity line. It's basically, like your average teams that, whatever. First edition, you had the Steelers, who we said have moved all the way up to the club. You had the Chargers, the Cardinals, the Seahawks, the Jets, which we can probably safely say the Jets have probably moved down. The Bengals, who John's wondering where the Bengals are now, and the Texans. So now in your new one, you have the Cardinals are still there, the Chargers are still there. The Bucks have dropped down into that group from the strong set to now mediocrity, which you could probably say is probably the injuries and everything. So,
Mm-hmm.
John, the Bengals are still in that group. They've stayed the same. The Texans have stayed there, and the Falcons dropped down from strong set to mediocrity. So, all in all, that group has stayed basically unchanged to you. And if you look at each of those teams, like
You
there's
can see
glaring
why they're there.
right. Well, there's
Even
injuries
though
with
the
the Bengals,
Cardinals, they win another 2 games, they may move up.
right?
They
Because out of
give
that
me
group,
two
the
games
Cardinals
of
are probably playing the best.
consistency.
Yeah,
They can move up.
yeah. But yeah, so the Bucks, we know the injuries with Godwin and Evans, like it's reasonable why they're there. The Bengals, as John and as you and I have talked about before in here, the defense is what's holding that team back, and until they get that fixed, yeah, that's kind of where they're going to stay. I know John brought up the Texans, and you said that you were going to move them down, right, in the next one that
Hmm.
you do. Okay. Uh, and the Chargers. I, I I think the Chargers are an odd team because they have
That's
a
why
good
they're right
record.
there.
Yeah, there's what 6-3, but it's just like, what do you make of them? Herbert. It seems like every other game, Herbert's banged up. The wide
They're a
receiver
bunch
group
of I
is
don't know.
yeah. The only thing you
And
like
that's
about
why they
is
are where they
Harbaugh.
are. Because I really don't know.
Yeah,
Because I'm like, you're not close to a Detroit, but you're not a Jacksonville either.
right, right. Yeah, well, I
Right in
mean,
the middle.
I think this season speaks to what Harbaugh will probably turn them into in a year or two. Because this is a group member with Brandon Staley. This group was a complete mess. Some pieces have moved on. All they really did was bring Harbaugh in, and the team looks so much better.
And now
So
they're the
let
Los
Harbaugh get
Angeles
more of his
Titans on
players.
defense.
Well, I mean, yes.
What is with people coming straight to Tennessee and finding their damn talent? I am not a talent farm. Like, what is going on? Now, granted, that is a testament to Mike Vrabel and company and the defensive staff that the people feel like it's okay to just come and pluck half my defense every damn year, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, yeah, and they
The
grabbed.
Bears done did it. The Chargers done did it.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
Texans did it. I'm tired.
And offensively, Harbaugh raided the Ravens running back room. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. And oddly enough, Dobbins has been remarkably healthy this year.
Gus
I
Edwards.
I hope I didn't jinx J.K. Dobbins because look, the dude has been through a lot early in his career, and if getting out of Baltimore is what it took for him to have a healthy season, then shout out to him. It is odd that Gus Edwards. Well, I think Gus Edwards got hurt in Baltimore as well, but that he's the guy that got hurt first in LA and not Dobbins. But they've looked good running the ball. Herbert has been fine. It's just that some games he just takes a beating, and you just wonder about his longevity. But I think the more Harbaugh gets his guys in there and gets his system and everything implemented, I think Herbert will be better off for it. It's just how long does that take with Harbaugh? That'll be the only thing. Okay. Okay. Um, so the next group, fourth line, fumbling and stumbling. So these are the teams that I guess are striving to be average. Oh, hey Bella, what's going on? And let's see, the first edition for fumbling and stumbling, you had your Titans, the
They stayed there
Eagles.
all year. All year. I wanted to move them.
I, hey, I mean my team's in that group too. So uh, yeah, the Titans, the Eagles. I mean that's when the Eagles were really struggling, so it made sense. But they've moved up as we mentioned in the new edition. You had the Colts, the Giants, the Broncos, the Dolphins, the Raiders, and the Patriots. Now, with the new edition, still the Titans, but the Rams are new to this group, as the Rams were actually at the bottom. The Panthers have moved up from the bottom into this group. The Broncos are still there. The Dolphins are still there. The Raiders are still there. The Patriots are still there. And the team that's dropped into that group, the Seahawks, because you had them at mediocrity before. You dropped the Seahawks into fumbling and stumbling now. So
I
I
have
guess
no
what's
faith in them.
the yeah, I was about to say what was the biggest reason for the Seahawks dropping, but yeah.
I have at their defense once they started out pretty decent, and then the roof fell out the sky. The bottom fell out the sky. The defense stopped playing defense. Geno Smith, it's clear that he's on his way out of Seattle. That's been made abundantly clear.
Mm-hmm.
I
Look,
granted they just gave him a
I think
contract, but they didn't give him a supermax. Supermax. This is not NBA talk. They didn't give him that 5-year killer. They can come out
yeah,
from under that contract.
true.
So I'm like, mm-mm.
Yeah, definitely. Like if Mike McDonald and his staff have a quarterback that they're going to target in the draft, they will be more than welcome to take him. Gino is obviously going to be a transitional guy, only because there's so much chaos that happens when you make the switch at head coach. They probably stuck with Gino because he'd been there. He's a veteran with the group. I agree. Look, I think oddly enough, where the Seahawks are now is probably where they should have been the whole time. But they got to a better than thought that better than people thought start, and I think that people started overinflating what they could do, and now they've kind of fallen back to where they should be. So them being like 4-5, I don't think that's that big of a deal because there's a reason why you moved on from what Pete Carroll, who
Mm-hmm.
Pete Carroll had been there forever. You bring in a new coach, like this is good. What's going to happen? Transition. Let's see. John says they'll roll with Sam Howell, who is Sam Howell is Gino's backup. Sam Howell is still pretty young. I guess they could go that route if they wanted to start new with Sam Howell and kind of build off of that. Or like I said, if there's a quarterback that they really like, why not draft him and maybe have him battle for the starting job of Sam Howell next year? I
Or
could
they
see
could
that
go
as
get
well.
Trey Lance.
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody should ask Jerry. Jerry loves to talk. Somebody ask Jerry, like, how much do you like Trey Lance? He'll probably tell us how much he does. And then we'll see what Trey Lance's career looks like.
He really spent the 4th-round draft pick on Jonathan Mingo. When D
Who,
Hop went for
fifth?
5th,
Yes. And Jerry broke the news, which was crazy to me. because I was
Broke the news
watching
like he was doing something. Oh my
I was
God. He
watching Get Up
legit
and
thought he was doing something.
I'm watching Get Up and they're talking about, oh, Jerry's talking now, and Jerry's like, we're gonna go after a guy we liked out of the draft, and they were just like, okay, that's kind of vague. And they turned to Dan Graziano, and Dan Graziano just threw out the name Jonathan Mingo. That's somebody who was drafted that I think a lot of teams liked and whatever.
I would
He
have
literally
died
said
laughing
that.
on the set.
He literally said that 10 minutes later. They're like, the Cowboys traded for Jonathan Mingo. And I was like, wait a minute. No, wait, this just happened. And Jerry was telling the truth. But that's like the worst thing about it is Jerry has too much access to the media. And he just talks way too much. That's the biggest thing that's wrong. What we already talked about the Cowboys. Because you and I could probably spend 3 hours just trashing the Cowboys, but we'll keep moving. Um, the fumbling and stumbling group. Yeah, I feel like they're all teams that if you look at them, they all kind of have something in common where quarterback play has been up and down for all these teams, or the quarterback just isn't good enough. Like we talk about the Raiders. Patriots had Brissett that started. Now they've moved on to May. They obviously feel good about May. Seahawks, we talked about Geno. Had a good year. Was it 2 years ago now? And now it's just getting worse with him. The Dolphins had their issues with Tua getting hurt. Huntley and McDaniel not knowing how to put together a game plan, apparently. Tua coming back and the struggles are still there. Now the Broncos have Bo Nix. Bo Nix has had some moments, but I still think that there were questions about Bo Nix's
I question
viability
their
as a
head
starting
coach.
quarterback. I was about to say, because I feel like people who have tuned in know you're not the biggest Sean Payton fan at all. So,
At all.
yeah,
And that's the main reason why they right there.
exactly.
Because his decisions, ugh.
And
And they're a bad team.
Broncos
Minus the
don't
defense.
turn into the Saints. Do not kill your cap to try to whatever. Like let's hope they don't make that same mistake. Because that's the Saints was how that's looked for them. All right, let's look at
If
the
they
last
do,
group. They can only blame themselves for it.
yeah, and they deserve it for how they did Russell Wilson.
That's true. But you said that before, and watching Russ, I guess Russ is cooking right now with the Steelers. Kind of proves the point.
Yep.
These are all things he could have done last year in Denver. For some reason, couldn't.
Sean Payton didn't like him, so he called the playbook as simple as an elementary school coloring book
There you go. Pretty much.
and forced him
Like he
out.
didn't have wide receivers. He had Cortland Sutton, who he loved to throw to. Cortland Sutton is a pretty talented wide receiver. The same way he's connected with George Pickens now, they could have done the same thing with Cortland Sutton. He had Jerry Jeudy. I know Jerry Jeudy has whatever, but Jerry Jeudy is a talented wide receiver. Like this all could have been done in Denver, but like you said, Peyton was not a fan. All right, the Dungeon Dwellers. In the first edition, you had the Panthers who have moved up. Shout out to Bryce Young. You have the Jags, the Bears, the Rams who moved up, the Browns, the Cowboys, and the Saints. In your latest version, the Jags are still there. Anybody who's watched our show knows why the Jags are still there. The Bears, who we talked about, the Colts have dropped down to Dungeon Dwellers. The Browns are still there. Once again, if you've tuned in enough, you know why we have the Browns there. Well, why you have the Browns there. This is your tier, obviously. The Cowboys, you can tell from our conversation why they're down there. The Saints are still down there. Told you why. And then 2 new members to the dungeon. Good old New York with the Jets
Both
and
of
the
them.
Giants. Yeah. Yeah.
How both
Look,
of you end up on the same
if
tier?
anybody in right. If anybody in the chat listening to those teams that are in that dungeon really have a question as to why any of them are down there, I would love for y'all to ask right now. I mean, I couldn't think of a reason that a team down there deserves to. Yeah, they're all just really bad right now.
Yeah, they make my team look good.
I mean, I guess who's the best of the dungeon dweller? I mean, the hesitation kind of says it all.
Okay, let's go down the list. The
I mean, okay,
Jaguars,
if you want to say who's the best, who did you have to think the hardest about before you put them there,
the
or kept them?
Browns because of the well, actually, not even the Browns.
Okay,
Because if you think about it, I'm doing process of elimination.
okay,
Jaguars, don't nudge my hand, little girl. Um,
Jags, we know.
Jaguars, we
Yes.
know. Doug Peterson,
Hmm.
no defense, inconsistent Trevor Lawrence. Chicago,
Hmm.
Matt Eberflus, regression of Caleb Williams, no offensive line,
Hmm.
and he's lost the locker room. The Colts, they don't have a quarterback. Their defensive line is often injured, and they're bad. And they have overrated offensive skill players.
Okay.
The Browns, karma. Next, the Cowboys. I don't need to go into another 30-minute spiel.
Hmm.
The Saints. Well, this is what happens when you're $90 million over the cap. You get the wrong head coach who brings in Derek Carr. Then now you have your loud, overrated defense turning on Derek Carr. Did you know that the offense is performing better than the defense on paper? So I don't know why their defensive players are acting a fool on Twitter. Do your job if you're able to do it. Um,
Hmm.
and the Jets and the Giants. Do I need to say anything else?
No. Yeah, like I said, pretty self-explanatory. Um, so yeah, look, we'll have to see where the next edition will go. Um, I guess when should people expect another edition?
This week we're going into week what 11?
Yes.
Right around week 13. Give me two more. Week
Okay.
14. Give me 3 weeks.
All right.
And then
Hey,
after that, I'll have my final one for the season. And then we'll have a special one for playoffs.
there you go. All right. Well, look, we will definitely be looking forward to that, and I promise by the next one in 3 weeks, I will figure out the whole screen share what the issue is with it on here. But all right, so we're gonna move on to our final segment of the night, our picks. Um, so yeah, so just to let you all know, we did kind of change how we do our picks. Instead of picking every game, Jori and myself will pick our three like favorite, and then we'll pick a team that we think upsets are possible. I will tell you that our last one that we did, you had a really good showing. You went 3-1 with your picks.
Oh,
I went
word.
2-2. Yes, I can actually tell you how. Let's see. You had, because like I said, we hadn't done it in a couple weeks, but you had Titans over the Patriots. You picked the Commanders over the Giants, the Eagles over the Jags. The one that you lost on, you had the Broncos over the Ravens. That was your upset. So look, your
Damn
three
Broncos.
favorites,
And
you,
they
you
played
knocked it out
well
of the
for
park.
a half. They played
Yeah.
well for a half. They could have did it.
Look, for that half, they looked promising. For me, I lost out obviously with I took the Patriots over the Titans. I had the Lions over the Packers. I took the Bengals over the Raiders. And then my upset, I had the Seahawks over the Rams, which that game went into overtime. So I narrowly missed out on that one. So overall, you are 24 and 23. You're game over 500. I am 22 and 25. So you have a 2 game lead on me. Still have a few weeks
Let's see
left.
if I
So,
can build.
right. Hey, I mean, I'll see if I can come back in any way. So this week, there are some interesting games. I don't know. I don't know which ones you're going to pick. Same way that you don't know the games I will pick. But I will tell you. So we have the Packers as the favorites heading to Chicago to face the Bears. We have the Jags, those mighty Jags, facing off against the Lions. The Lions are the favorite in that one at home. The Vikings are the favorites going up against your Titans in Tennessee. The Raiders head to Miami to face the Dolphins, who are the favorites. The Rams are favorites on the road traveling to New England to face my Patriots. The Browns are the favorites heading down to New Orleans to face the Saints. The Jets are favorites at home hosting the Colts. The Ravens are favorites going on the road to Pittsburgh to face the Steelers. The Broncos are favorites hosting the Falcons. The Niners are favorites over the Seahawks as the Niners are hosting the Seahawks this week. Chiefs, Bills. The Bills are the favorites at home against the Chiefs. The Chargers are favorites at home against the Bengals. And the Texans are the favorites going on the road to face the Cowboys. So I guess you are leading out of the two of us, so we'll let you go first. As John has put in a couple of picks of his own.
And me and John aren't that far off. Bengals over Chargers, but I was like the Lions over the Jags, cause duh.
Let me write these down so I can keep track of them. So you're taking the Lions over the Jags, okay?
I tried to pick 3 games that I knew weren't gonna be mainstream games, cause I'm like, yeah.
Okay, appreciate that.
Packers over the Bears, and
Okay,
this might count. I have the Steelers over the Ravens, and for my upset, I am going to pick the Patriots versus the Rams because the Rams can't score.
okay. All right, so hold on. Lions over the Jags. I completely missed your other two favorites. Lions over the Jags. Oh, you took the Packers over the Bears.
Mm-hmm. Steelers
All
over
right.
Ravens.
Yep.
And my upset is Patriots over
Wait,
Rams.
if you took the Steelers, that would be your upset because the Ravens are the favorites in that one.
Shoot.
No, you want to take another
Go.
favorite?
Quit jumping off my lap. Um.
No, what? No. We'll because those are your picks. We'll leave them. Only because look.
Well, Bills was over Chiefs was a favorite, right? Because I picked them.
Yeah, Bills will be the favorites over the Chiefs. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll have that.
So you're taking that one? Okay.
I just have 2 upsets, but that means you get an extra upset.
Okay, I'll take that. All right, so Steelers. Okay, so we'll do upsets. Steelers over Ravens. And look, there was a good chance, those of you tuning in, that one of us was going to take that game. I mean, I am the network resident Ravens hater, so it's all good.
And I'm a sidekick, so there's that.
Right. Pats over Rams. All right. All right. So for me, I'm gonna take that Texans over the Cowboys. Both of us can agree that the Texans have not necessarily been great, but that Cowboys team is just begging to just completely implode. And you know Jerry would hate nothing more than to
Than
lose
to
to the in-state
lose to the
rival.
Texans.
Yes.
That might get Mike
Uh,
McCarthy fired.
to be honest with you, it probably would. Because Jerry would overreact to that in the biggest way. All right, so Texans over the Cowboys. I'll take the Niners over the Seahawks. Because
Hmm.
I do think that the Niners are going to start stringing together some good performances here. I will
See,
go
you got
with
you.
the. Oh,
I said that earlier. I said I feel like the Niners are finna flip a switch.
yeah, because look, I just think Brock Purdy has been, even though there's still some fans that don't want to give him the credit, like he has been really good. I mean, he's had a couple of games where he's been shaky, but I think overall he's been good. The Brandon
He
Ayuk
does that
injury
every year.
obviously wasn't the greatest thing for them. Yeah, I feel like for a guy that was picked as Mr. Irrelevant, he's gone above and beyond expectations. It has now turned himself into a really good quarterback. And I know that the Seahawks can put up points when Geno's on because of that wide receiver group, but I just think that they're a team that's losing a lot of confidence with each week. So I think the Niners will get that one. Uh, my last favorite, I will go. Hmm, I mean, I'm kind of tempted to go Chargers over the Bengals, but I've picked the Bengals to be a playoff team. I don't know how many of these games they can necessarily throw away.
Oh, they ain't going to no playoffs. I don't know what
Yeah,
the defense has shown you
it's
that says
definitely starting to look
playoff
like that.
caliber.
Yeah, yeah. The only thing is like the Chargers aren't like some explosive offense, so the defense may actually have a shot in this one. But this is also a defense that may turn the Chargers into a juggernaut for all we know. As John put, Falcons over Denver. I said on sideline to sideline that game is a sneaky good game for the 4 o'clock window because I think both teams are like trying to find their way. They have some things you like Denver. I like their defense. The Falcons, I like Kirk Cousins and Drake London's had a good year. Like Ray McLeod is making plays. Like I like that. And there's big things I don't like with each of those teams.
Like the
Hate the
defense.
Falcons pass rush. And
Hmm.
with Denver, their offense at times can really frustrate you.
Yeah, because what the hell is Sean Payton doing throwing the football 350 times with a rookie?
Right. And then he'll come back the next week and want to run the ball. Let's see. My last favorite. I got okay. Let me do this one, and then we'll go to our to the end. Do I dare take the Jets? Probably not. You know what? I will do this in the Jameis Winston revenge game. I'm gonna take the Browns over the Saints. If there's ever a week for Jameis Winston to just kind of pull a repeat of the Ravens game when he threw for like 350, this would be the game for him to do it. And it would be
He
the
might
most
forget that
Jameis
he's not a
Winston thing to
saint.
do ever. Huh?
He might forget
Oh,
that
he
he's
said
no
he throw.
longer a saint.
That's also the danger of Jameis Winston. But something tells me this is going to be the game where he puts together a good performance. So I'll take the Browns over the Saints. So then two upsets. I mean, I'm not touching Colts Jets. I
Don't
dare
touch that.
not touch that game.
That's a trap.
I mean, it's a trap to anybody who watches that game. I'll I kind of agree with John on the Falcons Broncos, but it would be a Falcons thing to go to Mile High
And
and
lose.
look unprepared. I'll take it. I'll take Falcons over the Broncos.
And I'm saying that your second upset is probably going to be Steelers or Ravens, right?
I'll let you have that one. I'll let you have that one. Look, this is probably my last ditch attempt here. I'm gonna take the Bengals over the Chargers. I don't know. I feel like because the Chargers offense isn't gonna blow you away, I think if Burrow and that offense could just hang around long enough, I think Burrow will make enough plays to get the win there. So I'll take the Bengals over the Chargers as my last ditch attempt to save my pick of them as a playoff team. If they lose to the Chargers, like that's it for
You're
them.
done.
Yes. Not Anthony. John said go for the Raiders over Miami. Not gonna
That's
lie,
something I'm
crossed
not
my
watching
mind.
either.
Right. Yes. Only because those two teams are involved. Good luck guessing what the Raiders will look like from week to week and what Miami will. That could be a game Miami will randomly get like, I don't know, 2 touchdown passes from Tyreek Hill and some look, there's people in the media because they beat the Rams actually think Miami might go on a run. Good luck with that.
They look like they can barely run. What are we talking about?
There's people looking at their schedule and talking about, they could put together some wins that I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Champy, what's going on? I believe you are new to the show, so appreciate you tuning in. Here's an interesting one. We'll close out on this. As he said, the Lions and the Cardinals are
Oh,
the two
hell no.
best teams in the NFC.
The Cardinals
2025
are missing a
NFC
few.
Championship game.
The Cardinals are tough, but they are missing some. They got some holes to fill. They still could use an offensive tackle or two. They could use a defensive tackle, a nose tackle, and maybe something else along that line.
Mm-hmm.
Linebackers, they need some help.
Yeah.
They need help. So they're as physical as they are right now. They're not close to being playoff ready.
I mean, my question for you, Champy, are you a fan of either team?
He's a Cardinals fan. Look at this picture.
Oh yeah, I wasn't paying attention to that. Okay, so here's what I will say. I think the Cardinals are fascinating. I wanted to give up on them. Well, actually, I was I was like bullish on them a little bit early on. Then they struggled. I was out on them. Not gonna lie, the way that they've played the past couple of weeks, I could be closer to thinking that than maybe Jori is. I
They're
think
too Jekyll and Hyde.
yes, but the thing that's in the back of my mind is if the Cardinals put it together even for 3 or 4 weeks, they could elevate themselves into a position where they could possibly be an NFC Championship game contender. Because with the NFC, outside of Philly, outside of San Francisco, there's just so many question marks. Oh, and outside of Detroit, we know what Detroit is. But everybody else in the NFC, sure. I mean, I think
We
Green
know
Bay's
what
probably
Detroit
closer to that
is.
group as well.
We
Yeah,
know
we
what
know Detroit.
Detroit is, and we know what the Giants are. So everything else is a question mark.
Right. So there's that side of it, and then there's the other side that's like John is saying. The Cards this year are the Texans last year, where the Texans kind of burst on the scene, had a good showing in the playoffs, but obviously fell early to the Ravens. The Cards could do the same thing, and then there'll be a lot of hype around the Cardinals next year.
And the Cardinals did some
I
of this
do,
last year too, beating up on teams that they had no business
yeah.
beating up on, and then losing to teams that we thought they were going to lose to.
Mm-hmm. And then the Cardinals beat like the Cowboys late last year, and a lot of people were like, "This Cardinals team, whatever." I will say, Call of Duty has been out for a couple of weeks. Kyler Murray is still balling, so maybe Kyler Murray's figured it out. The what? So I like Kyler Murray this year. Trey McBride, I love that guy at tight end. I don't like the Marvin Harrison. If I'm involved, I'm locked in. But if I don't get catches, I'm kind of going 50%. I don't like that about him, but he's a young player. He'll figure it out. I think James Conner at running back, like you know what you're getting from James Conner. He's not like, he's not like a top 5 guy, but he's not like obviously a bottom 5 guy. Like he's good enough on a playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
Defensively, sure. So I think the Cards could surprise certain teams. But if you told me like the Cards had to play the Lions on opening weekend of the playoffs, I'd say there's no shot. But if they got like the Commanders, and the Commanders are another team that's kind of on the Cards level, I'd say sure, maybe the Cards could steal that one and then move. Yeah, so Champy, I don't think it's necessarily crazy to predict Lions and Cardinals. I just don't know if I would fully commit to that yet. I think the Cards are progressing towards that. As long as Kyler Murray continues to show that he's kind of committed to being a good quarterback. There was questions about that his previous seasons, but if it happens, Champy, we will remember that you put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so maybe John is correct that the Cardinals are this year's Texans. But yeah, so appreciate you guys tuning in. Jory, if there's anything you want to say before we get out of here,
Yep,
go
because
right
I have
ahead.
2 new episodes over on Jori Sports Stories. I'm trying to get the videos out on YouTube, but in the meantime, you can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, anywhere else.
And you got Bella.
Yeah, and I got Bella. She's picking the Steelers too.
I mean, she'd have to. Like, come on.
She'd have to.
Yeah. Making an appearance on the show, you got to pick against the Ravens. That's what we do here. But yeah, so for me, if you don't see me on here, I have my channel, Chomping at the Bit, where I have a video up. The last one I did was I talked about the Pats versus the Bears, kind of a breakdown on that game. I should have a video up probably tomorrow, talking about some NBA stuff and my picks over there. Cause I've actually missed doing picks for a couple of weeks. On that channel, I do picks against the spread, so you can see that. Like I said, probably early tomorrow. But yeah, so appreciate all of you. Make sure you go ahead and give us a like, follow and subscribe if you're new. Like Champy, like I said, Champy, I believe is the first time. At least you commented. So hopefully you come back next week where we will have some more. I have a feeling we will definitely be talking some more NBA next week. In NFL, of course, we will see how each of us do with our picks. Like I
I
said,
got a
you're
bone to pick with my Lakers, so just stay tuned next week.
See, there you go. Next week, we'll get into Lakers talk because I kind of know what you have a bone to pick. I have
You
a
already
special
know.
bone to pick. Yes. So we will definitely dive into that next week. If you're going to talk Lakers, I may talk Celtics as well. And yeah, if there's any big moves that happen in the NBA, we'll definitely talk about that as well. And if they make any rule changes. And look, NFL, we're getting into that playoff stretch. So, Jory and I will be watching a lot of these teams even more closely. So I forgot to say what the picks
Especially the
also.
Ravens. I will be hate watching them more.
Well, yeah, because look, next week we will be talking after Ravens Steelers, one of the big games this week. Bills Chiefs, one of the big games this week. And what's the third big game that everybody's been talking about? It was the Thursday night one. Yeah, Commanders, Eagles was so next week, yeah, we'll have a lot to talk about. So make sure you come back. Greatly appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your night. I guess enjoy some West Coast college football. That's kind of what I do
Yeah,
after
because
the
I'm
show
gonna go to
anyway.
bed.
Yeah. And last thing, Jake Paul beat Mike Tyson, big whoop. Mike Tyson's
He's
almost 60
60
years
years
old.
old.
Give that man some credit. He was bobbing and weaving. He wasn't throwing a lot of punches, but he was bobbing and weaving. We'll leave it at that. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your night. We'll be back next week. Like and subscribe. Follow Integrity Sports Network so you'll be notified when any of our shows go live. Until next week, for myself and Jori, we're out of here.
And Bella.
Bye.